Yo, this is Soul Drum 86 bringing you another video. Today, man, we're going to be reviewing another episode of Raw. This was March 30th, 1998, the Raw after WrestleMania 14. And man, this episode, much like the majority of Raw episodes, especially in the Attitude Era, this is one of those episodes where it shows what I miss about wrestling so much. The way the show was written, how much happened during the show. I also would like to point out that now, not every match was long because, again, like I've preached on my channel before, not every match in wrestling needs to be long. Not every wrestler or all their matches, even deserve to really be 20 to 25 minutes. You don't need it. And it's not because they're not good wrestlers. I want to also make that clear. A lot of the times it's not just because they're not good wrestlers. It's just for the simple fact that, like, it just doesn't need to, you don't need to have every match run that long. You just don't. It gets to a point where it's just it just gets a little bit long in the tooth. But again, I want to add, we have 3 hours of Raw. Apparently, this last week of, or this week of Raw, the week I'm out of recording this, Triple H, he said after the premiere on Netflix that, they're not given a strict like time limit. If the show needs to be 3 hours or a little bit over or under 3 hours, then it will be. And so, Raw, I guess, was 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm reviewing Raw right now when it was just 2 hours. And we got how many matches? Because I wrote them down. Let's see. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven matches. 7 matches in 2 hours. Now, pay-per-views, there used to be typically 8 matches a pay-per-view, right? 8 matches a pay-per-view back in the day. And that's all you really needed. You didn't need anything more. And the pay-per-view matches, of course, all went longer than matches on Raw. But even then, back in the day, not every match on a pay-per-view went 20 minutes because that would be ridiculous. Ridiculous. I've always said that with the talent that they have, and when I say the talent that they have on the roster, I don't think the roster is necessarily great with like a bunch of standouts, but they do have a lot of people signed to both AEW and WWE. My thing is, why not just get as many people as you can on TV to do something with them? Start little storylines, little feuds. Matches don't need to be long. Maybe you can have quick 5-10 minute matches, but have these little short 5 minute matches. Have it be a reason why the match is that short. It doesn't always have to be a squash match. The match literally can just be short because something happens that is going to then later, be the beginnings of a storyline, a feud that takes place. But the matches don't need to be long. Like me personally, I appreciate wrestling matches. Don't get me wrong. I like many other people have a list of wrestling matches that I can list off and say are like some of my favorites of all time. However, you can make wrestling matches be shorter. It's better than keeping people in catering, which what they do a lot nowadays. You have all these women that are, a part of the roster wrestling now, and you have all of these guys. And each week to get like 4, maybe 5 matches, and you have 3 hours of TV, that is absolutely ridiculous. There's no excuse for it. No excuse for it. I hate to keep comparing the new school to the old school, but I'm sorry. Triple H just ain't cutting it for me. And I love Triple H as a wrestler, but this new style of let me just get into this review because I'm rambling and I'm gonna try not to have this review go so long. I really don't want to keep you guys, but I'm gonna try to get through everything that I've written down here, man. And I'm sorry if I end up kind of going through this too fast, but I just want to explain. Uh, for those of you who really aren't familiar with the Attitude Era, a lot of people are, but you know, this is what this Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania had in it, and there was a lot that happened on this particular episode. So in the beginning, you have Vince McMahon come down here and introduces Stone Cold as the new WWF champion. Stone Cold comes out, has the, Wing Eagle title. And, he notices midway through his entrance, he notices Vince has a new title. And that's when they got the new blue strapped heavyweight title, which was a cool looking belt. The blue was a little kind of I like the black strap, but it was still a cool belt. But Stone Cold looks at it, sees that it's new, looks at his belt, looks at that belt, throws it at Vince's leg, and it hurts Vince, and then he takes the new belt and finishes his entrance. Vince tries to butter up Austin. Austin's not going for it. Vince says we can do it the easy way or the hard way. Long story short, Stone Cold gives him the stunner. And they come back from commercial. You see Vince McMahon being looked at. He's got like Briscoe and everybody around him, Sergeant Slaughter, checking on him, seeing if he's okay. So yeah, you got the staff checking on him and whatnot. So then it goes back to the ring, and LOD 2000 with Sunny, she's their manager, comes out, and they pretty much are in a squash match against the Los Boricuas. I can't remember the members, the two members that they fought, but it was a quick match. LOD 2001, really really quick. It was a very fast, it was a very fast match, but nonetheless, it was a match, and it was cool. And little short squash matches can be entertaining, which it was. You just see the wrestlers that you like come out and do some powerful moves, 1, 2, 3, and it's over. Then it goes to Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly updates the viewers and JR and King, actually JR and Michael Cole, because Michael Cole and JR commentated the first hour. The second hour was JR and Jerry King Lawler. So Kevin Kelly updates that Vince called the police on Stone Cold. And he says, Vince said he overheard Vince say it doesn't care how many cops it takes to take down Austin, get it done, blah, 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 blah. All right. And then it goes into match number 2. Krugen or whatever that dude's name, the big 7-foot dude. He fought Chains from DOA, and I think his name was like Kurgan or something like that. I never liked this dude. He was a heel anyway. It was what it was. Matches going on. Normal kind of paced match. Match wasn't too fast. Like match wasn't too quick or anything like that. But during the match, they did like a split screen, and you see Vince and Sergeant Slaughter and Briscoe, Gerald Briscoe. They're waiting on the cops for Austin. So they're showing that like as the match is going on. So on one side of the screen, you're seeing the match. The other side, you're seeing Vince McMahon wait for the police to show up. After the match, Kurgan wins. And then after the match, we see the cops arrive and they talk to Vince. Then it goes to commercial break. Back from the commercial break, Vince is directing the cops where to look for Austin. And then after that, Tennessee Lee introduces Jeff Jarrett. He comes down to the ring with a horse. He's getting ready to have a match against Aguila, this like luchador guy. And let's see. Oh, just this is another match that went on for a little bit. I want to say it was about a 10-minute match. It felt like it was about a 10-minute match. Steve Blackman runs down to the ring after Double J wins, and he starts attacking him. But then Tennessee Lee distracts Steve Blackman, and then Double J gets a hit in on him, and then they kind of walk away from the ring area. And so after that part of the match, after that segment's done, the camera show cops taking away Stone Cold, and it's that that infamous moment where he takes his head because he has, his hands are cuffed behind his back, but he takes his head and rams Vince into like the wall. And so the cops are taking him away. When they come back from commercial, you see Austin being put in the cop car, and he's talking his mess like he does. And after that, Vince, Sergeant Slaughter, and Briscoe make their way to the ring. Vince addresses the situation, um, and says that, look, Stone Cold made his move, and then I made mine. Blah 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 blah. And then, it was a really quick address to the crowd. He only talked for about a little bit, and then it was probably like what, three, probably not even 3 minutes. And then the crowd is booing him like crazy. And then Vince leaves. They walk back up the ramp. And then there's a small little locker room promo with Triple H and China, and Triple H says, like, things are about to change with, things are about to get X-rated with DX and all of this stuff. Pretty cool. Just a little cool moment. It was pretty cool to see that. And then after that, the Nation of Domination are having a backstage promo, and The Rock starts going off on Ken Shamrock because he beat him the night before at WrestleMania 14, and Rock is still the Intercontinental Champ. Tells Farouk, and I forgot that this was the episode that the Nation of Domination turned on Farouk. So the Rock looks at Farouk, tells him that he appreciates him. He's like, yo, you're the reason why I'm still Intercontinental Champion and all this other stuff. So it seems like a good little moment. And so now we got the fourth match of the night when we come back, because it goes to commercial after that backstage promo. And you have Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock versus The Rock and Farouk. And you see The Rock limping to the ring because of how he had suffered that leg injury at WrestleMania. So at the start of the match, Rock is asking for Farouk to tag him in because Ken Shamrock is in the ring. So Farouk tags him in, and Rock is trying to get the referee to kind of get Ken Shamrock to go to his corner, and Ken Shamrock is just ready to just start going after The Rock. So this kind of happens for a little bit. They kind of do this standoff for a few minutes, and Rock tags Farouk back in. And then he points to his leg injury, because Farouk is like, what are you doing, man? You just had me tag you in. So The Rock is pointing to his leg like, dude, I'm still messed up from last night, blah, blah, blah. So The Rock, or Farouk, is getting destroyed in this match. He's pretty much getting worked the entire time. And The Rock, is reaching out for a tag at one moment because Farouk finally gets, he does this back suplex to, I think it was Ken Shamrock was in the ring at the time. And so, he's kind of trying to go for the hot tag. He's going over. The Rock is leaning in for the tag. As soon as he gets close enough, The Rock then puts his hand up high, and he's like, come on, man, you got to tag me in. So Farouk is on the ground. He wants Farouk to get up to tag him in, and then The Rock leaves. And so the Nation kind of starts to follow The Rock like, yo, what are you doing, man? And match continues. Farouk, of course, loses because it is now 2-on-1, and he's been getting worked the entire match. So Farouk loses the match. The Nation is still ringside. Farouk demands The Rock come back down to the ring. They start brawling. Farouk starts getting the upper hand on The Rock. Officials and everybody start the Nation separating them. Farouk, or after The Rock leaves the ring, Farouk's like, nah, this ass whooping ain't over. Get your ass back down to the ring. And Rock gives the signal, the people's eyebrow, and that was the signal for them for the Nation to turn on The Rock. And D'Lo starts off first, and then Godfather, and then Mark Henry, and then they all just jump him. The Rock says, look, don't ever want you to think that you were ever the leader of The Rock. I'm now the leader of the Nation of Domination, and I'm the ruler of the Nation of Domination. So yeah, that was a cool moment. I forgot that happened on that Raw. Or I should say on this episode of Raw. But then Triple H and China make their way to the ring. Again, it goes to commercial break. When it comes back, Triple H and China make their way to the ring. This is when Triple H had his promo saying, "Look, Shawn Michaels dropped the ball." He didn't even say Shawn Michaels' name. He didn't say, he didn't say his name, but you all knew who he was talking about. But said he dropped the ball. He's here to pick it up, and things are going to change. He introduces X Pac, so 1, 2, 3 Kid himself, returns to WWE, joins DX. He addresses Hogan, Eric Bischoff. He tells Hogan that he sucks. Um, Says, I remember this line. I remember this line like it was yesterday when he said Nash and Hall would be standing right here with us if it wasn't for Eric Bischoff holding them hostage. So yeah, it was a cool little moment, man. So this was the episode where the nation turned on Farouk, and it was the beginning of the new DX. So then there was a video package showing Val Venus laying down. You hear a girl moaning on TV, and it's pretty much him watching one of his adult films that he recorded. And he's like, "Oh man, I'm good," saying all of this stuff. So he has this little quick promo where he's telling, like, pretty much get ready for Val Venus, blah blah blah. It was comical. It was a comical moment. So then we have match number 5. And remember, this was a 2-hour show. 2-hour show, and we already got 5 matches now. Takamichi Nuku and Armichi Nuku and the marvelous Mark Merrow with Sable. They have a match coming up. After the ring entrances, Luna interrupts before the match starts, and she's asking Sable for a rematch because the week before, it was either the week before WrestleMania 14, I can't remember. They had an intergender tag team match, and Sable and Mark Merrill won. Sable gave her like this big power bomb, and Luna is definitely wanting a rematch. And she says it's going to be an evening gown match. Mark Merrow's all pissed off because, this is a part of the storyline where Mark Merrow was trying to be very controlling of Sable and all of this other stuff. So Sable accepts really easy, and, she's telling her she's going to kick her ass and all of this other stuff. And Luna's saying, "I'm going to embarrass you, you slut," and blah, blah, blah. So Luna leaves after the match has been settled for Unforgiven in your house. And, so the match goes on. Mark Merrill wins, and as they make their way up the ramp, this was the introduction to Kai and Tai. They come out of the crowd out of nowhere and start jumping Takamichi Nuku, do a couple moves to him. Just it turns into a beatdown, and JR's like, "I don't know who these guys are. They just came out from the crowd," and blah blah blah. And so that happens. Sorry, I keep saying blah blah blah, but I am trying to get through this. I don't want it to be like extremely long. Match number 6, we got the Headbangers versus the Midnight Express. Bodacious Bart, but we know him as Bart Gunn, and Boombastic Bob, which is Bob Holly, and it was for the NWA tag titles. Midnight Express win. They had Dan Severn down at ringside. After the match, he beats down the Headbangers pretty much by himself. He does like a few moves to both of them, and then puts, I think, Thrasher in a submission maneuver, and they just get beat down for a little bit. So after this match, they're getting ready to like cut to something like a commercial, and JR's like, "Wait a minute, we're getting a phone call." And you know how when you're in jail, you get that one phone call. So Stone Cold calls into Raw, and they put him over the speakers so the crowd can hear him, and he's telling Vince like he's gonna have hell to pay next week. So you tell him to get ready. He's doing this whole Stone Cold thing, and it's just, the fans are loving it, man. It was awesome. So match number 7, which is the main event of the night. It is a cage match with Terry Funk, aka Chainsaw Charlie, and Cactus Jack versus the New Age Outlaws. And this is for the tag team titles, like the WWE tag team titles. And this match was dope. So before the match started, they're focusing on the fact that Terry Funk is injured. His back is all bruised up, and they were showing footage of earlier before Monday Night Raw started, he was getting like, treatment on his bruise, and he's in like agonizing pain. You just see this big bruise on his lower back. Oh, before this match started, I forgot about this part. Okay, so before uh this match starts, Paul Bearer and Kane come down to the ramp. They don't go all the way down to the ring because they're setting up the cage and everything. So they just stop at the top of the ramp, calls out Undertaker for the Inferno match that was at Unforgiven. And so yeah, Paul Bearer does this whole thing talking for Kane. Really cool moment. It has that like red light that Kane wrestled in back then. So yeah, that was cool. So I forgot about that part. That was before the actual main event. But going back to what I was talking about, Terry Funk's got this big bruise on his back. One of the things that I love about this match was literally from the start of it, Billy Gunn, and I remember this, it was crazy watching this Monday Night Raw episode, and I remembered everything just about. I remembered everything that happened in it because it was like, oh yeah, I remember that part. I remember that. So while this match is going on, literally in the very beginning of the match, Billy Gunn rips Terry Funk's shirt because he has his back to him, and Billy Gunn gets him down on the ground and immediately starts to attack the injury that Terry Funk has. That's storytelling. That's ring psychology. This is a match for the tag team titles, and he's immediately going for the part of the body that is injured. All right. Anyways, the match continues on. They actually tie, or I should say chain, Terry Funk to the cage. So they're at one point in the match, he's completely useless. He can't help Cactus Jack. And so it's pretty much a 2-on-1 match. And there's a part later where they're climbing the cage, but you can't win that way. You can only win this specific cage match. You can only win by pinfall or submission. And DX comes out. X-Pac hits Cactus Jack with a few chair shots to the head. And needless to say, New Age Outlaws win the match because of the DX interference. This is when they joined DX. So DX, this is when the brand new DX started. New Age Outlaws win the tag titles, and they are officially a part of D-Generation X. They all pretty much climb the cage at the end, doing the DX symbols and all of that, the suck it signs and all of that stuff. And then the Raw is over. This Monday Night Raw was so fun to watch. Now, if there's any negative that I can look at on this Monday Night Raw, was not every match was a match that I personally would want to see, like Kurgan versus Chains from DOA. I don't care to see them, but the match wasn't boring. It was just a match that I really wouldn't care to see. Let's see, another one, Jeff Jarrett versus Aguila. That's not a match that I would want to see, but it was cool to see Jeff Jarrett in action, though. You know what I mean? Like, he did cool stuff. He won, so it was, it made up for it. That's really my only negatives about this episode of Raw, was like, it could have been some better matches, but not all the matches were terrible. Like, even though it was a squash match, I liked the LOD squash match. I liked the tag match with The Rock and Farouk versus Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock. I liked honestly, the Taka match against Mark Merrow was pretty cool. Against Marvelous Mark Merrow was pretty cool. The Headbangers match was dope. I've always liked watching the Headbangers matches. And then the last match was good. So, you had about like 2 matches on here that didn't necessarily need to happen, but there was story that happened along with these matches. It's like, wrestling is now becoming a thing where it's all about the long 20 to 25 minute match. And it's not so much about story. Watching full episodes of Raw, I'm actually surprised that they can even have 3 hours of time used up because it feels like nothing ever really happens on these shows. Especially with the way Triple H books and the way that he tells stories, it doesn't really seem like much happens. It's like nowadays on wrestling, you get very, 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 very long promos throughout the night, and maybe some backstage segments that really don't do much. And then to fill up the rest of that time, you have 4 to 5 matches that are 20 to 25 minutes long each. Each. That's craziness. Um, I'm done watching modern wrestling, but one of the things that I've always wanted them to do is to utilize the roster. Let's get 7 matches in a 3 hour show. Why not, Triple H? Why not? Why not put your guys in matches just so the crowd can have some, I don't know, to me a lot of wrestling isn't long matches. A lot of wrestling for a 3 hour match or even a 3 hour show or a 2 hour show, I'd rather have multiple matches that have variation that are different. You know, there's going to be a squash match some nights. There's going to be matches throughout the night that might not be as long because something's going to happen that makes the match not as long. And then you can have still your long matches in there. You can have about 2 matches that go 20 to 20 something minutes, especially because you got 3 hours. But I mean, like, man, listen, man, say what you want about Vince, man. He knew back in his prime, Vince McMahon knew how to utilize the time that he had for every show. The fact that you had the Stone Cold story sprinkling throughout the episode, you even had for the second hour DX sprinkled throughout most of the episode. It was all of these things that kind of had to be like the episodes of Raw had beginnings, middles, and ends like any other TV show. And that's how wrestling should feel. It's a show. It shouldn't just be, hey, we're gonna show some conflict through the microphone and then we're gonna have a bunch of long matches. Like, no. Like have things happen that are shocking. I want to see wrestlers come from the crowd and interfere in somebody's match and beat them down, and then it turns into a longer segment. I mean, the Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman versus The Rock and Farouk, when you look at that whole segment in totality, it lasted about as long as a current day match would last. It lasted about 20 minutes because there was the promo first. When it comes back to commercial, there's there's kind of like the stare down of Rock telling the referee, hey man, get Ken Shamrock back, and doing that whole thing, and then him tagging Farouk back in and then leaving Farouk to fight the match on his own after being there and watching Farouk get pretty much beat down 2-on-1 while The Rock was even there. And then for Rock to leave, come back, there's a brawl that starts, they fight, and then it starts the whole thing of like Rock giving the signal and then the Nation of Domination turning on Farouk. You see what I'm saying? Like there's so much that went on. And before this moment, the weeks before, there had already been that friction between Farouk and The Rock. It has been built, but it wasn't slowly built. There was a lot of things happening, a lot of comedic moments happening while this was taking place. And so from week to week, you were always like, ooh, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next on Monday Night Raw. Now, I am done watching modern wrestling. Like I'm done. But I still find myself from time to time watching clips on YouTube. And when I saw the ending of Raw this past Monday, where Damian Priest beat Finn Balor, when I watched the episode, it was it just it was it. I forgot what podcast I was listening to where they said it perfectly. Triple H puts so many periods at the end of everything that he does that it doesn't leave room for um, leaving the fans wanting more. It ended with Damian Priest winning the match, and then that was it. But there was nothing to it. Unlike on the episode of Raw I just reviewed, DX just made their group bigger. They just helped New Age Outlaws acquire the tag team titles. And then for them to, at the end of the show, kind of letting the fans know that this is going to be a new thing now. And get ready. The new Nation of Domination. They were telling fans, get ready for next week, pretty much. Because it was like, now The Rock is the man. So what's going to happen with the Nation next week? Because they kicked their leader out. They kicked the original leader out of the Nation of Domination. And then you have the Stone Cold thing where it's like, man, Stone Cold's going to be coming back now after Vince McMahon had him arrested. So what did we all say as fans back then? I can't wait until next week. There was a story. It was a show. There was intrigue, compelling characters. This is what wrestling is. I'm sorry, but wrestling is not 20 to 25-minute bangers, as people like to say. Especially if those matches involve no selling and zero ring psychology. I'm sorry. I am sorry, but no. That's not how it works. That's not the type of wrestling I like. I can't speak for everybody else, but I know for me, that's not the type of wrestling I like. But anyways, man, this match was awesome, or this Raw was awesome. I've already made this video longer than it needed to be. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I will be doing this more, just randomly kind of watching. I'm not watching anything in order, just randomly picking certain episodes of Raw and certain pay-per-views to review over the years. So it's going to be sporadic. Hope you guys enjoy this stuff, man, because I will keep doing it if you guys do. But yeah, man, it's your boy Soul Drum 86, and I'm out. Peace.